morning, Shanda. Behind the black box?
Good morning. What black box?
There's a black box in our screen. Can you see that black box?
That's our invisible guest.
That's our invisible guest. What I don't know who that might be. Anyway, good morning, Al. Hi, Melissa. It's Freak Out Friday, or what is it? It's Friday. Oh, forget Friday. Let's forget Friday. We don't have any. Everybody slept in today. They had a big toga party last night. Lots of nudity and, well, I don't know. What was it? Nudity?
I don't know, but we weren't invited.
We were not invited, and that's a good thing when it comes to nudity for me. I don't want to scare the hell out of everybody. Got some good news from the Hill today. Let me just play a few seconds of this, and we'll talk about it. Okay. I gotta wake up, man. Ooh.
Story that I'm very excited about, and I think you are as well, which is the Senate primary in Kentucky. Big contest between Amy McGrath, who was the big dollar pick of Chuck Schumer and the DSCC, recruited into this race, very centrist, corporatist type of candidate, raised $41 million, much of it from out of state and around the country, versus Charles Booker. He is a state representative, youngest African-American lawmaker in the state, running this sort of grassroots populist insurgent campaign endorsed by Bernie Sanders, AOC, Elizabeth Warren, and others. So Charles Booker, as you know, surged right at the end of this race. He really met the moment in terms of the protests that are unfolding around the country, but in particular in Louisville, his hometown. This is where Breonna Taylor was, of course, killed by police officers. So we have new election results, and I want to caution, this is still very early because much of the vote coming in Kentucky is from mail-in ballots. We won't know what those say until June 30th. But as of now, Charles Booker has taken the lead in that state. So he has 43.5% of the vote. Amy McGrath is at 40%. Charles has about 2,500 vote lead on McGrath at this point. And essentially what happened, McGrath did have the edge on election night, but none of the results had come in from Jefferson County. That's where Louisville is. That's Charles Booker's hometown. It's also where the bulk of the population, it's the biggest population center.
What do you think about them apples? Think we got a chance?
I think with mail-in ballots, I'm not going to hold my breath.
Well, yeah, that is true, but you know, it's Louisville, it's Kentucky, it's McConnell land, so who knows what's going to happen, and who knows how they're going to rig it. And I think I told you this morning, I wouldn't count this one in the bag by any means. And Crystal's not saying you should. However, they got it's 40 to 43, which is basically a 6% flip from what it was the other day, so it's a good sign. We're going to see how that pans out. I'm sorry, I'm a little distracted here. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Barbara made it in. Good morning, Schulte. Hey, Schulte. Hey, Schulte. And as usual, our friend Al from Vermont, representing Vermont, is here. I'm thinking that we want to go over to this Shaun King piece. You want to give us some input on this one there, Shanda?
Yeah, actually, I found a better article I want to bring up because it has some quotes in it. But so basically, Shaun King, he's been a very outspoken BLM activist out of California. Of course, he was a Bernie surrogate in 2016. Shaun seems to always be out there fighting alongside us. And this morning I wake up to multiple articles about how there is this police group on Facebook. It's California Law Enforcement. Yeah, California Law Enforcement Officers Private Facebook Group. And basically, they're in there talking about how they are ready. So Jeff Garcia, a Long Beach Police Department, said, "I am ready to rock and roll. Let's get it going, boys and girls. Time for California law enforcement to offer a code for a long distance operation." So basically they're just talking about how they want to assassinate Shaun King. And now Shaun King takes death threats every day, but it's one thing when they're just rando, people. It's another when it's an organized group of law enforcement officials.
So the cops are mad at Shaun King because he is an outspoken advocate against and for
defunding, firing, the police that have criminal records. I mean, like in Seattle right now for the CHOP, there's something like 57 police officers that have disciplinary, marks on their records. And the BLM are asking to have those people released, to fire them. If they obviously have a history, you guys step up and do the right thing and fire them.
Yeah.
My mic is low. They're saying, can you turn my mic up?
I don't know. Let me see. Give me a 5 count there, please, Shanda.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let me see. Let's get your mic up.
A little better.
Is it
better?
That better be better. That's about all I can give you.
Yeah,
how's my mic? Does my mic suck?
Yeah, your mic's good.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is consistent. This is the what we call the Serpico thing, where they're, and it's not one within their ranks, but it's citizens journalists out there, calling out the bullshit and demanding that they do something about it. So, again, we want to emphasize that with the Julian Assange, the Bradley Mannings, the rest of them, who's the one that went to Russia?
Edward Snowden.
Edward Snowden. It's not just them, everybody. You are, in fact, citizens journalists, because once, how do you define who and what a journalist is? It's somebody in the streets. Until these international, multinational corporations took over our media in a big way after, thankfully, Bill Clinton, he got that, the Telecommunications Act, which basically screwed us. We are the press, and the likes of Rachel Maddow and Chuck Todd and Jake Tapper, MSNBS, CNN, and Fox, they're not the press. They get most of their information or their stories from AP. They are just infotainment, and they manufacture consent per Noam Chomsky. You all know, Jan, we know. So, you have to be the press, and you're going to become more of the press as time goes on, particularly when we can get this COVID thing semi under control. I wanted to jump over to the testing. Does anybody know about this coronavirus testing? Anthony Fauci says task force is seriously considering a new strategy. And, Fauci's the so-called top infectious disease expert, and I'm not going to challenge that. I just challenge the character of the man. But they're talking about something here. The proposal is still in the discussion stage and is not expected to be announced at the task force briefing later today, Friday. Fauci told CNN, although President Donald Trump has repeatedly downplayed the need for increased testing, because that's, no testing, no numbers, and suggested last week that we ask for testing to be slowed down, the nation's experience in a surge confirmed cases demonstrating the nation's inability thus far to get a grip on the spiraling pandemic. Now, we see the hot spots exploding in, Texas, Arizona, Florida, all these other places. It goes on to say here, the something's not working, Fauci said. The nation's current approach is an interview with a Post. I mean, you can do all the diagramming you want, but something's not working. The way pool testing works is by mixing together several samples together into a batch or a pool, and then test the pooled sample with one diagnostic test. Now, is this what you were alluding to in the green room, Shanda? A pool is where they actually test the sewer?
Yeah, they're not testing your swimming pool. So I came across a bunch of information when I was doing my deep dive for COVID for the accidental activists. And what they're doing in British Columbia, BC, is they're testing the sewers. So they've got, the district mapped off into sections, and they will go to schools and big community centers, and they will just literally pull the manhole up and they dip a cup down in there and they test it for how much COVID is in that area. So basically they're going to start trying to test areas, not people.
I don't know how many ways this drives me crazy.
So what's the response to this? Okay, so if one area is heavy in COVID, what do they just lock everybody in their houses like in China? Are we going to see metal bars and Gestapo tactics?
Yeah, I've got this vision of Steve McQueen and the Blob, just going through all these, COVID being the Blob, and that just wiping everybody out. This pool testing caught my eye. I still don't quite get it, but it's batch testing or pool, then test the pooled sample with one diagnostic test. So what I'm thinking is this way you can test a group of, for example, 25 people with one test rather than 25 separate diagnostic tests. If the test comes back negative, then you've eliminated 25 people with one test. If you get a positive result, you go back and test the people individually. I get that. It almost sounds like a cost-cutting efficiency measure. I don't know. How do you feel about that? Just being based on what we see here with pool testing. What's your?
Well, I think this is yet again another misstep of the Trump administration during the middle of a freaking pandemic. Florida had 9,000 cases yesterday. Texas had 5,500 the day before, and if the Trump administration sent their administration in. They're pushing to cut Obamacare. They want to cut all funding for testing, which we've known that they're cutting a lot of that out, and now they want to overturn Obamacare. How the hell does that work in a pandemic?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it just means that we got to push that much harder for Medicare. Go ahead, overturn it, but you have to have Medicare, universal health care ready to go if you're going to overturn Obamacare, which is, I'll remind everybody, we know what Obamacare is. It's a boon to the medical insurance industry. It's made them trillions up to this point. Is it better than what we had before, which was nothing? No, I don't think it is. I think it's just a means to an end to propagandize the Democratic Party as actually having done something as far as health care.
I kind of disagree, just because my husband is a diabetic who went without medication before Obamacare. And
no, I know where you're going. Go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah. So the Obamacare, how did it benefit your husband?
Well, he can actually go to a doctor now. He can actually get meds, where before it was a free clinic and here's $1,000 prescription that you can't afford to fill. So what the hell is the point?
So AppleCare?
There is some small things that do help about Obamacare.
So it's besides the pre-existing condition clause, right?
Right.
Yeah, I'm thinking. Yeah, I think it's crumbs. It's vitally important crumbs that we got from that, and I agree with you there. Again, I think. I can't be flippant or obtuse about saying that we would have been better off not to have it, because we'd be further down the road as far as Medicare for all, which I don't believe myself. I think that as far as the outcry for it, that's the thing, and this is a debate that I'm willing to have with anybody. But this Obamacare has been used as a shield from the Republican attacks, and now that Trump's going after getting rid of the Obamacare, which is what the Democrats have been saying. It's more that duopoly. They're kind of like strategizing together to how to get the people on, one side or the other, splitting the country more so. I don't know. I'm starting to not make sense to myself, but with that, did you know that Joe Biden's a shoo-in? Joe Biden's gonna just wipe Trump out. It's gonna be a tsunami victory for the Democrats and Joe Biden. What do you think about that, Shanda?
Did you hear Biden's gaffe this morning? He said that 2.3 million people have died of COVID so far.
Yeah, I think.
No, maybe he's confusing that with how much he's going to win by.
Yeah, that could be. That's probably what it is. Which brings to us another set of comments from our benefactor as far as uphill media goes, John Ellis. John Ellis was wondering why the MSM propaganda dog. Don't be mean to dogs, John, damn it. James Carville was trending. He's spinning the narrative about gaffes, factual errors being no biggie. Factual errors being no biggie. Okay, I just want to be clear on that. It doesn't matter how you try to prop up Joe Biden. He's a turd, an old dried up turd, mentally and physically unfit for office. It's simple as that. He is an old dried up turd. Do you agree with where John's coming from on that?
Absolutely. I always agree with John. I don't think I've ever seen a tweet from John that I don't agree with.
Yeah, he's pretty right on. I've had some disagreements, but they weren't big enough to make a big deal out of them.
Right.
Now, some of the comments here, we've got Andy. Sorry, Andy. Point of order, gaffe is not a factual error. Those are called either mistakes or lies, depending on the intent. A gaffe is a kind verbal blunder, which could include telling the truth at an inappropriate moment. Wow, you gained weight. I don't know. Yeah, that's an example. Is he talking about me or John? John saying 120 million dead instead of 120,000 would be a mistake or a lie, question mark. Then Joe makes a lot of mistakes and tells a lot of lies. Well, that's a given. Joe does make a lot of mistakes and tells a lot of lies. That was the last debate with Bernie Sanders. He lied 5 times. 5 times. And for any of you to think that this guy who lied 5 times on international television and social media, that he's not going to lie when he's in office, I'd rethink that. Wouldn't you? Would you rethink that? Shanda? I don't know. Anyway, I digress.
He can lie his way through it. It doesn't frickin' matter.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's, he's the presumptive candidate, and he's got it all wrapped up according to all the polls. I'm going to stick with my prediction. It ain't over till it's over, and if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'll be the first one to mea culpa. We've got this one coming up. What do you say about trying to teach an old dog new tricks? Is that how you'd parse this with Harry Reid, or is he trying to sing the same old song? Anyway, Harry Reid, Crystal and Sauger got into it with Harry Reid's claim today. Let's shoot this over here and run a few seconds of it. And for everybody, I think you're going to enjoy this. You especially, who think Russia really had something to do with our outcome of 2016.
Extensively, how Russiagate is a brain worm that seems to infect establishment Democrats. And this one just shows you how deep the worm really goes. So Harry Reid, the former Senate Majority Leader, out with an outright conspiracy, according to the Daily Beast. He now says, quote, "There's no question in his mind that Russian hackers covertly altered the 2016 vote count. Quote, I think one reason the elections weren't what they should have been was because the Russians manipulated the votes. It's that simple." Again,
wow.
There is no evidence whatsoever to support that claim. If anything, there's countervailing evidence that did not happen whatsoever. But it really doesn't matter. Harry Reid is long been a bombastic person, willing to say what the Democratic base just wants to hear and doesn't care if it's true. It reminded me, do you remember the 2012 campaign when he's like, I have information. Mitt Romney has not paid taxes in a decade. And people were like, okay, so present the evidence of that. And he was like, I have information. He lied. He lied on the floor of the United States Senate. Nobody cared. He just says it, and it just gets away with it.
Well, here's a few things.
Yeah.
I mean, on the one hand, the man is retired, but on the other hand, the fact that prominent, powerful people were willing to go out and spin elaborate conspiracy theories, right? Hillary Clinton accusing Tulsi Gabbard of being a Russian asset comes to mind, right? But the number of people and former, FBI officials and State Department
Evelyn
officials,
Farkas, remember?
Evelyn Farkas, who just lost her primary, so sad for her. Anyway,
Sorry,
willing to go out and make it seem like there was way more there, and they can't say all that they know, but trust them, the other shoe is going to drop, and it all really is there under the surface. And people, for good reason in a certain sense, believed that, because you had so many establishment figures who were willing to go out there and say batshit crazy stuff.
Batshit crazy stuff. Okay, let's spend 38 seconds on this, shall we, Shanda? Your views?
I've spent way too many seconds on Russiagate and the earworm that is Russia. But yeah, this just same shit, different day.
Well, yeah, this is. God, I don't know. Let me get myself in the pain here. If you still believe in Russiagate, or that the Russians changed the outcome of the election, no matter if it was insignificant or significantly, please rethink that. Please revisit it. take another look at it at least. That's all I'm saying.
Well, my whole point about Russiagate is where is the goddamn proof? Okay, so we had the Steele dossier and the whole Russian troll farm, right? Which they dropped the charges against. They actually didn't prosecute anybody in that Russian troll farm for the $100,000 worth of Facebook ads that supposedly swayed a whole country. So then you had the leak versus the hack, right? That's really what it was. It was a hack. Somebody hacked into the Democratic Party's servers and they stole all those emails and they gave them to WikiLeaks, right? That's why we're after Assange and we want him dead. But if you go and you study what actually happened, the difference between a leak and a hack is there was a download bit rate. So we know that was physically downloaded to a flash drive, and then it was uploaded to WikiLeaks. Now, you won't hear about this because the DNC refused to turn their servers over to the FBI. They said, oh, crowdsource looked into them, and we're going to believe what they said, even though we know that they're biased. I mean, you got to go much deeper than, oh, it was a leak or it was a hack. No, it was a leak. It was Seth Rich. They killed him for it. He is the one who gave the information to WikiLeaks, and now they want Julian Assange dead for it too.
I think that you're absolutely right, and this was pointed out step by step by CIA, ex-CIA analyst George. Was it McGovern? I can't remember his first name.
I'm not awake yet. It'll come.
McGovern. It was his last name.
Bill
William Denny.
William Bill Binney.
William Bill Binney. Okay, yeah. So, I mean, this is a CIA analyst, and yeah, it was the bit rate, and as little as I know about computers, that's how it works. Hacks you all know that hacks download rate, whether you hack or not, it's only going to go so fast. So once again, it was to cover up the DNCs wherever they pulled the wrong lever and Trump got the Wisconsin vote or not. And a lot of people say, well, if he hadn't got Wisconsin. And my point is, and I go
he
along.
He wouldn't have got Wisconsin if they wouldn't have thrown out millions of votes in Wisconsin.
Well, yeah, you think. While they were tossing out all the votes for the Democrats in the primary, the progressives in the primary, well, guess what happened? Same thing in the general, except, oops, they threw out the wrong box. So, that's where it's at. William Bill Binney, that's right. So, anyway, Harry Reid's just clinging on to that, courtesy of
God, I wish we could put Russiagate to bed once and for fucking
It's
all.
never going to go to bed. Never.
I wish that somebody would come forward with information of, or we could solve Seth Rich's murder. I mean, there's got to be something in history that finally breaks and proves that this was bullshit all along.
Well, it's going to be the Mandela effect. That's the only thing that's going to solve it, and that's going to be it. So, anyway, I want to get into this a little bit further for everybody in the group. Now, I happen to agree with Crystal on this, and I think you and I have talked about this. Go ahead. Elect Joe Biden. See what happens. And I thought her radar, is this her radar? I think it is, was right on this morning. So let's hear a little bit of this.
Well, earlier in the week, we brought you a delightful bit of resistance drama. New York Times White House correspondent Maggie Haberman had the audacity to level the mildest, most generic bit of criticism at Joe Biden ever during a CNN interview. Let's relive the moment.
Look, as much trouble as Donald Trump is in politically right now, a lot of it of his own making, but certainly not all of it. Joe Biden is still a very flawed candidate. He is running a flawed campaign so far. There are still 4 months left. They have to have what are supposed to be 3 general election debates.
How could you, Maggie? Naturally, Twitter absolutely freaked out. They said Maggie was in the tank for Trump, should be fired, all kinds of utter insanity. Of course, it was all very serious and very dumb. But it did get me thinking. Biden, obviously way up in the polls right now. New Times Battleground polls and Fox News Battleground polls are truly stunning. Here's some info from the Times ones. He's up in every one of the critical battleground states and in some by double digits. So what would the dynamics of a Biden administration actually look like? What would the Democratic Party look like under a Biden administration? The freak out to Maggie's comments and to any dissent from the Dem Party line right now offers a bit of a clue, right?
Okay. And I'm going to cut this. I'm going to start it again. But what would a Biden administration look like?
We already know what that would look like. It would look like Obama's Citibank. administration.
The whole thing. It would be just just a double play, a double down on what the Obama administration.
Take the worst actors of the Clinton campaign, take the worst actors of the Obama administration, put them all in one big ball and throw them on top of this demented Alzheimer's, and that's what you get.
Yeah, I mean, the pilot's there, but he's not flying the plane as far as Joe Biden's considered. Again, I'm hoping they put somebody in as VP that will actually be presidential in some respect as far as logic and strategy and intelligence and running a damn country.
You know better. Come on.
Oh, shit. I mean, it's all about the puppets. It's, they're puppets. She's getting ready to lay it out here. So I'm just going to let you guys hear it. Go ahead and let's have Joe Biden. Let's see what she's got to say here.
Right now, Trump has served as a great unifying force for a lot of Democrats. There are stark and dramatic policy and ideological differences between the Bernie wing and the Biden wing of the party. Those differences, of course, frequently play out online, but by and large, there is a clear enemy, Trump, and a clear goal, defeat Trump. Plenty of people are, in fact, pulling their punches on Biden and the Dem establishment for fear of helping that enemy and harming that goal. We, of course, don't believe in pulling punches here. Even the progressive complaints, though, from Sunrise and Justice Dems and others about the utter inadequacy of Biden's policy platform, all, of course, come with the acknowledgement that while they would like him to do better, they will ultimately, of course, be voting for him. But don't mistake that relative acquiescence for actual agreement or unity. The Democratic primary exposed dramatic, fundamental divides on issues like healthcare, on issues like climate, and even on the way to approach politics and affect change altogether. The largest divide, of course, was generational. Younger voters are not Democratic Party loyalists, and they do not consume as much of the traditional media outlets which help to manufacture consent. Forged in the debacle of the Iraq War and the Great Recession, and now the pandemic depression, all sins and catastrophes, by the way, of bipartisan making, they aren't impressed with calls to fall in line or work through the normal corrupt processes. During the Obama years, the party was kept together in part by the scary Republicans, but more so by the figure of Obama himself. You still can't really criticize the guy. The rock star plus trailblazer status kept most of the complaints from the left fairly muted and left independent media was really just getting off the ground. Bernie Sanders had not yet come along to give more folks permission to get in the face of the holders of power in their party or to question their undying wisdom. Times have changed. The MSNBC liberals will follow the follow-in-line playbook until their very last gasp, of course, praising and spinning and defending every last thing that Joe Biden and the Dem leadership does, even when it violates every principle they claim to believe in, because to do otherwise would be to give the Republicans a talking point for some imagined attack ad. This same group will continue to absolutely melt down anytime there's a hint of anything but utter subservience and Nicole Wallace-style fawning praise. But a large and growing portion of the left is just not going to play ball. The Biden years are very likely to trigger an all-out civil war between the establishment and left wings of the Democratic Party. After all, Joe, for all his talk of FDR and revolution or whatever it is he's saying these days, is going to run the same neoliberal playbook he's bought into his entire 50-year career in Washington.
I think that's the key right there. Sure, you get rid of the boogeyman Trump, then you get Biden in, but we're not having it. We're not having it anymore. So I think that is the glass half full with a Biden presidency, not just that you've defeated fascist boy Trump, but you are going to ignite something that you have never seen before with a Biden, a cloned Obama administration, which failed, I mind you. Thus we got Trump. Everybody hated Hillary Clinton. So go ahead. Vote for Joe Biden. Do whatever. Let's get him elected. He's got it in the bag, all his stuff. I still don't think he's got it in the bag, and I'll stand by that until after November. So you get where I'm going with this, Shanda.
Yeah, absolutely. I hadn't seen this clip yet this morning, but as it progressed, I absolutely agree with Crystal, because my thought is they haven't seen shit. If they want to elect Biden and put Biden there, they think that it's just going to be holding hands and the left uniting. That's not what's going to happen. We are going to hold their feet to the fire like they can. It will be a civil war within the party. I mean, we've had this de facto war going on in the party for the last 5 years, but it's gonna step up if Biden is our administration. It's our administration. Oh hell yeah!
I think
We're
it's
gonna go after him.
I think it's necessary. I mean, yeah, I'm not all about just defeating Trump and the GOP.
I don't give a shit about.
I don't care anymore. What I want Joe Biden to get elected at this point, because we have nobody. I want him in there. I want him in there because what he is going to do, he is going to unify the people. You're actually going to see, I think you're going to see more pushback on Biden by the people.
Yeah.
They're not going to be able to suppress it like they have with, the Bernie thing and all that, because people have had it. I mean, they're losing their jobs. This face plant by this current idiot in the White House on pandemic, again, get Biden in there. Oh, everything's going to be fine. Bullshit. It's not going to be fine. We've got a new norm going with the pandemic. Go ahead, put Biden in there. It's going to unify the progressives, the populist movement, like no tomorrow. That's my prediction. I'm going to stick to that. There's no way they can suppress this anymore. And moreover, I guess we need it. This is why we need a Biden presidency, so we can rally the populace to show them what liars and criminals the DNC and the establishment have been and will continue to be. So they might have their party and the inauguration party and spend $100 million on it with all the Richie Riches and everybody. Oh, Joe Biden, we are not worthy. And Joe's going to be going, is this New Year's? So it's going to be like that. But I think, and today's the 26th of June, Oz is saying Biden is going to be a unifier for not only third parties, the progressive movement, Medicare for all, the climate crisis. He's going to be more of the unifier than this idiot that we've got in the White House now. And that being said, thank goodness that we're not into these wars that are just hanging around us. Trump hasn't got us into that. Now, if Biden tries to make overtures to doing that, that's really going to burn him down. So, last thoughts on this, Shanda?
I can't wait. Either way, revolution, civil war, it's not going to change. If we put Biden in there, we're just going to unite the populace. I mean, if it's Trump, we're still going to keep coming after him. Either way, it doesn't change it.
I think the Dem establishment, the part of the duopoly, I think they're going to let their guard down. They're going to think that everything's fine, and we're going to mow through them like a buzzsaw because we've had it. People are in the streets now. You ain't seen nothing yet, baby. I mean, no jobs, housing market crashing, pandemic killing millions.
Careful what you wish for.
Yeah. Be careful what you wish for. You just might get it. Anyway, I think I bloviated enough on that. Hey, everybody. Pat, the Batman fan. There he is.
They're talking about fart winks. I don't know what a fart wink is, but
is that my
funny word?
Is that my breath? I don't know. Kelly, good morning, Kelly Lane. How are you?
Yeah, Kelly's here. Hi, Kelly.
Yeah. Hi, Kelly. Yeah, 24%. There'll be 24% that'll go after Trump. Yeah, okay. I agree. Hey, Brom. Nice to see you. We need an independent candidate that can unify the independent movement and unseat this neoliberal regime. That's, I think, absolutely, Brom, I agree. I think that's a Biden presidency would be much better as far as solidifying that strategy, that direction than Trump, because you've got that infighting with the duopoly now. Whose turn is it at the helm of the Titanic here? And I think that Biden probably will. Biden fart juice. Okay. Biden fart juice.
Cracking me up with the fart jokes.
Yeah, fart is it? Well, that works. Fart Friday. Anyway, here's a little gig. Fox News. This is Fox News. This is a Fox News poll.
This did not come from me.
No, it didn't. No, it didn't come from this. Oz is offering this, but it's through the Hill, via the Hill, so it's kind of filtered.
Happy Friday. We have an amazing show for everybody today. What do we have, Crystal?
Indeed, we do. We have Glenn Greenwald on. He's going to talk about the new superseding charges of Julian Assange. Important
Come
story.
on, guys.
We'll dig into that with
Get
him.
to it.
Of course, he's the perfect person to talk about that. We have David Sirota on talking about changes to the Volcker Rule. Not a good thing. We'll dig into that as well. But we wanted to start with some new battleground and not even really that supposedly battleground polls that are looking very good for Joe Biden.
Yeah, these are not supposed to be battleground states. And before I put this up on the screen, let's make this clear. Biden needs none of these states to win, and he's winning in all 4 of them. So let's put that up there on the screen. This is from Fox News polling, which Biden in Florida, 49-40. Biden in Georgia, 47-45. Biden in North Carolina, 47-45. Biden in Texas, 45-44. So again, Georgia, North Carolina, Texas all went for Trump last time around, but the fact that it's close is an issue. Now, I think that the Texas one is an outlier. Like, if I had to place money, I would say I think Donald Trump is going to win the state of Texas. But the rest of them, North Carolina, who knows? The New York Times.
All right, that's enough of that.
I don't buy those numbers. I don't care if they did come from Fox.
But it's Fox.
I don't buy those numbers.
It's Fox. Fox is the most accurate news agency in the world.
Florida? Trump's losing Florida to Biden and Texas? No
Shit. They're gonna wake up and not know what they said the day before. So yeah, again, I question those numbers, but it's almost like Fox, really? You're going to be in the doghouse with access to the President of the United States for this report.
Well, and who did they poll? We know how polls work. They poll 100 people that are over 70 that only watch MSNBC, you know.
Yeah, they poll the ones that have to climb up the telephone pole and dial in on. Yeah, that's
exactly.
Green Acres is the place to be. Anyway, that's...
I love Green Acres.
Yes. Sorry, Green Acres.
Yes, I am old enough to have watched Green Acres.
Yeah. For living is a lie for me. Melissa makes a point here. That
I was just going to say I agree with Melissa.
Yeah, I agree with Melissa. Party. No Indy or Green or any third party will gain power at the Fed level until we have ranked choice voting and fair elections. Absolutely, voting integrity. Yeah, that's it. I mean, absolutely. And again, these polls do mean nothing.
They do mean nothing.
They do mean nothing, Kelly. Yes, they do. I agree. I just, take your poll and stick it up your butt.
Let's start doing our own polling. We'll do a dive poll, and then we can send them in and be like, look, 100% of dive viewers say that Biden is going to lose and Trump's going to lose.
Yeah, again, Biden, whatever. Go ahead, get him elected. That will help the cause, I believe.
Either way, yeah. I'm like, whatever. We continue to go after Trump if he wins. If Biden wins, then, oh, hell yeah, it's going down. We're going to start coming after the party because we're inundated into the party. We've elected progressives all over, so we're going to push them forward to fight these guys.
Yeah. I mean, go ahead. I mean, you screwed the public. You stabbed everybody in the back in the primary, you Dems, you worthless criminal, most corrupt. I think the Dems are more corrupt than the Republicans, and that's pretty scary.
And that's people are like, you never attack the Republicans. Well, I know the Republicans are evil. I've known the Republicans are evil for 20 fucking years. It's the Dems who pat you on the back and stab you in the back at the same fucking time with a smile on their face.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, I don't get challenged on any debates, hardly at all, because they've already lost before they open their mouth. And, chairs, state chairs, I'd love to take Tina apart, and certainly my local chairs.
Get me started on that. I helped campaign for.
Yeah, we got the same problem with KC down in Oregon. It's all optics. You vote in this. Yeah, you vote in this person that you think is a progressive because of their sexual orientation or where their origin or whatever, and it's bullshit. They get co-opted. Everybody's the same. Everybody's the same. I don't care what you're carrying around or whatever. You're the same. You could be corrupted. No problem. Well,
we should have saw that one coming when she worked at Microsoft. Come on.
Oh, shit. Yeah. I mean, that's like, get that on you. You're never going to get it off. Just like, Amazon, Microsoft, World Health Organization, Jeff Bezos, Lex Luthor. Lex Luthor, 220, 221. That's anybody, not Superman's Lex Luthor, but Jeff Bezos is what I believe the character Lex Luthor is in real time in our reality, and unfortunately he's got baddies next to him like Bill Gates and all the rest of them. So, and I'll even put Barack Obama in that club because he wants to be in that club. So Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Jeff Bezos, they're all terrible. This one really stood out to me because I followed this before. David Sirota, sharp guy, gets a lot of shit. We're talking about how Wall Street just got a new legal license to gamble during the Depression.
For the banking industry, they are set to ease restrictions on something called the Volcker Rule, which would allow banks to make large investments in venture capital.
So restrictions on this kind of deal were put in place as part of reforms after the Great Recession. We all remember that. Needless to say, the move shot stocks of the major banks up more than 2%. Joining us now via Skype to explain more about all of this is Jacobin editor-at-large David Sirota. Always great to have you, David.
Good to see you, David.
Thanks for having me.
You're really the perfect person to talk about this because you've covered these issues so extensively. I mean, it's actually funny. We realize a lot of our favorite guests and journalists on the show are people who like cut their teeth on the financial crash and were involved one way or another in that era. But just talk to us about what is going on here and why it has such a great impact.
The Volcker Rule was put in place to prevent banks from doing proprietary trading with customers' money. The idea was that in the financial crisis, one of the problems was that the banks took deposits, took customers' money, and bet it on mortgage-backed securities. And then when the housing crisis hit, the subprime mortgage crisis hit, that ended up hurting the banks, which ended up creating a financial crisis. So the Volcker Rule said, listen, if you take deposits, you, a bank, take deposits, you can't gamble with that money on risky investments. So what happened now is that the regulators basically said that there are ways in which the banks can now go back to using that money to gamble on investments that were previously considered too risky to allow under the Volcker Rule. The other thing that happened was that the revisions allow banks to keep less money in reserve in the event of serious problems. Now, what's really disturbing about that, to my mind, is that at the same time that the regulators are weakening the capital reserve requirement, that is to say, how much you have to keep in reserve while you're lending out money, as they're reducing that, they just issued stress tests of the banks in which they essentially said that the recession that we're in, if it's a double dip recession, some banks are going to face serious stress. So put those two things together, and it's a little bit scary because you've got the regulators at one point saying you can go out and lend money and keep less on hand in the case of an emergency, and then they're also saying, hey, listen, if we go through in this unpredictable economic period, if we go through a double dip recession, there's going to be major stress on the banks. The Volcker Rule had the capital requirements in order to force banks to be more responsible.
You know what? Yeah. The insurance industry is licking their chops right now because that's how they make all their money, because the insurance industry gets to gamble with all that money like a good neighbor. State Farm is there to fuck you over.
Well, is it even gambling, or is it just a big fucking fancy way of explaining a Ponzi scheme? Because this just sounds like a Bernie Madoff, take the deposits and then you can use the deposits, but that's a Ponzi scheme to me.
Yeah, it is. They call things social safety net programs Ponzi schemes. Are you effing kidding me? Give me a break. I think Brom probably liked this particular story. I think he's talked about this before. Yeah. So just basically, the Volcker Rule wouldn't allow these banks to take funds and gamble. And if I'm wrong, chat, tell me, and gamble on, the stock market, the markets, whatever the hell markets they're going to gamble on, without having sufficient funds to back up these bets. So it's like Casino Royale gone bad. And when you talk about a double hit with the next recession, which is going to be a depression, it is turning into a depression. The banks are just going to go away. Until we figure our governments, our world oligarch figures out a way to make them healthy again. So this is going to be, in my opinion, chat, everybody, this is going to be another way to make an incredibly huge, trillions of dollars wealth handout to the gamers on this. I mean, they've already handed $5.1 trillion to the corporations. Now let's make sure we get everybody else on the table. And they're playing craps with society. And if you're familiar with crap game, it's, oh my God. Yeah. So, Shanda, what your feeling on that?
Hey, Oz, what's the best way to rob a bank?
I don't know. What's the best way to rob a bank?
Jilly Love says own one.
Own one. I think, Jilly, I think they
we just got a super chat. Curious 49, you rock.
Good morning, Curious. Thanks. Shanda, take that $5 and will you gamble it on something? Can you?
Yeah, I'm going to gamble it.
No, we really do appreciate that, because when all said and done, independent media, no matter if it's Uphill Media or Kyle Kalinske or, Mike Figueredo or the Gonvo Couch or anybody, we have people that have the guts to call it the way they see it, and we're trying to evolve people's minds, and we're speaking to the choir in this chat as far as I'm concerned.
Well, not always. I mean, because sometimes we come across people that only are half awake or have half truths. That's the one thing about this movement is there's different levels of knowledge and different levels of awareness. And so I think sometimes that we grab somebody who's just starting to wake up and we kind of pull them in with us, like, hey, look at all of this.
That's what we're not. I think can we all agree none of us are trying to manufacture consent. Again, I'm not. I don't give a fuck.
Consent for what?
What? Yeah, consent for our opinions on things. Hell no. We're a family of social media. We are citizens, journalists, everything else. We're not trying to manufacture consents. If I throw something out there and you disagree, say so. I'm not trying to peddle bullshit. It's boring. It's boring to peddle bullshit. I don't know how these snake oil salesmen get away with it.
Boring.
But yeah, there's too much at stake with the planet, the futures of the species on the planet, including the four-legged ones, the ones that crawl on their bellies, and of course the damn two-legged ones, which is my bane in that one. So anyway, again, we take the Hill. We're trying to be objective, mostly stuff from the Hill and Twitter and everything else, because they're at least talking about the stories that the mainstream propaganda network never do. So where are we at here?
Hey, we're not always doing just Hill. If you've noticed, we've been changing it up and adding a little flav to it. Yeah,
well, we really are, and we're going to keep doing that as long as we can. This is a BET's Robert Johnson calls out Biden, you ain't black, floats BLM party. Just a few seconds to get. I just want people to see the perspective. Not everybody is on the same boat in any community, and this was kind of refreshing.
Johnson, who's the founder of BET and actually the first black American billionaire, made some pretty controversial and interesting comments about politics over on Fox News. Let's take a listen.
If you've been supposedly hanging out with black people, you were 8 years Obama's vice president, you don't think like that. There's something in you that tells you, I can't be halfway wise guy, halfway cute by telling a black man, and by extension, every black person listening, that if you even think about voting for somebody other than me, and then to use the so-called colloquial expression, you ain't black, that's the biggest turnoff I've heard from a politician in a long time.
Bingo.
Yeah, wow.
Pretty interesting comments. And Johnson, known for a very sort of fierce independence in terms of his political views. He also goes on to float. He basically says, look, black voters are getting taken for granted by both of these political parties. No one's really representing their interests. So he floats the idea of the Black Lives Matter movement, which actually is more popular than either Joe Biden or Donald Trump at this point,
right,
forming their own political party and running to represent black interests. I mean,
I'm all for it. Please do. Don't you think? I wish that Mr. Johnson would have a sit down with Mr. Clyburn after Mr. Clyburn bent the knee to Barack Obama and the establishment and circled the wagons, got Buttigieg to drop and Klobuchar and everything, so they could ensure that one of the worst candidates running for president representing the Democratic Party got a shoe in there, which I still,
exactly.
ridiculous. So what
It is ridiculous. And, we need more black leaders that are going to come out and call the Democratic Party out for their co-opting of the black vote. We've talked about this time and time again. Schultz, I agree. Tim Black is probably one of the most aligned with our thoughts and our beliefs. He could use a plug. I will always plug Tim Black. Tim Black is amazing, and he does an amazing job from where he's at because he's in Maryland, and he actually reaches voters that need to hear this.
Yeah, I will credit Tim Black with what he says. I haven't caught him, online. I'm very cautious of Tim. I'm cautious of all of them. Kim Iverson, I like when they're talking the right way. But remember, folks, they're only special in their own minds. It's up to you to consider who's special and who's not. I think anybody who has critical thinking skills, who calls bullshit on stuff, they're special to me, whether it's Tim Black or Kim Iverson or Barbara or Jilly or Jesus or Human or, or Al or anybody. You're special to me. So, keep talking it, back up what you say, and have something to say. Don't just talk in circles like I just did. But it's really it's really important. So yeah, kudos to those who talk truth to power, speak truth to power. Now this is kind of a funny one. I guess it's funny. It's not so funny.
We didn't have much comedy today.
Yeah, no. This is Forget It Friday. I think we're going to forget it, but we do enjoy doing the show, and we really appreciate everybody here. This one, Jeff Bezos is mocked for renaming the stadium, and
oh my God, I know, I saw this.
This is. I'm going to go into a little diatribe after we watch this, but check this shit out.
Bezos made a very cringy Instagram post and decision, which will have major implications in the city of Seattle. They announced, so Amazon owns the naming rights to a new arena in the city of Seattle. Instead of naming it Amazon Arena, it will be named in climate solidarity as the Climate Pledge Arena. It also might be one of the ugliest signs that I've ever seen. It looks like a cartoon. Is this what they actually
planned for it to look like, by the way?
That is, it looks like a cartoon. I have no words for how cringy this is.
Well, yeah. Ken Klippenstein, who usually has the best takes on Twitter, was like, great, funding awareness of climate change rather than actual climate action. It's not going to surprise you to learn Amazon's operations are not, in fact, amazing for the environment. Now, I do want to say, let's be fair here, they announced some new initiatives to try to move in a more renewable direction. Wow. So we'll see whether that pans out or not. We do know in the past a few things. We know that their employees have walked out over their lack of transparency about their carbon footprint. We know, of course, look, their delivery system is not remotely green, especially the one-day delivering these things.
I know, we're just beating a dead horse with that. But how do you like that? Climate. What was the name? What was the name of the
It's the Climate Pledge Arena. This is our former Key Arena. Well, it's actually still the Key Arena, but what was it before that? I can't remember. The Coliseum or something.
Jesus.
But it's been changed names many, many times.
Yeah.
It's been remodeled many times. But this just speaks to how supervillain Lex Luthor owns Seattle. What's he going to change the name of our city next?
Oh, God, I got to tell you, I think they should have named it Pandemic Central instead. It would be more applicable because, who knows when we're going to be going to arenas to do, things again. So Climate Pledge, that looks like something out of what was that?
And a pledge doesn't mean shit. A pledge is just, okay, that's my word. I'm giving you my word. I'm going to do something.
Well, isn't this reminiscent of these like Tarantino, Benicio del Toro, these movies?
Don't get me started on that rabbit.
These neon movie things that they made. That's what that looks like to me. I mean, Christ. I mean, Climate Pledge Arena. I grew up in Portland, Oregon, and we had our place down there was the Memorial Coliseum, and they called it the Rose Garden. I had a sense of pride in that because Oregon was noted for their roses, how beautiful their roses, city of roses. And they ended up, these fucking insurance companies and banks and everything have co-opted, Citibank and all these. They ended up, KeyBank. I mean, the KeyBank Coliseum, and they ended up He ended up renaming the Memorial Gardens, the Rose Gardens, the Moda Center. And I think the
Moda Center, yeah.
Moda is some medical insurance scam corporation. And I'm thinking, you go from the Rose Garden, beautiful. You have this image of roses and sunshine and trees and bees and flowers, to the Moda Center, and I see this dark, dank, destitute place in the desert where people are lined up around this building to get some health care. It's like my brain is just like caving in. But they did the same thing with Candlestick Park.
Yeah,
I mean,
some overpaid think tank.
Yeah, it's like
with these stupid ass names and making a shit ton of money.
Yeah, we need to brand our shit. So the word, our brand, is on the tip of everybody's tongue. So let's go from the Rose Garden to the Moda Center. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Well, I'm curious, is the climate pledge like the homeless pledge?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pledging to do all this shit, but they don't seem to do it.
Yeah, and how much carbon did that making that piece of shit sign make? And how much carbon does it take to light the fucker up? I mean, give me a break. I don't even see any solar panels. Well, maybe those are solar panels beyond it. I don't know, but whatever. Jesus
No,
Christ.
that's just the way the top of the Key Arena looks.
Yeah, or is this a mock-up? I don't know. I don't know what the hell it is, but I saw this morning, and I'm thinking, Lex, you did it again. It's just like Smallville when Lana Lang agreed to marry Lex
He
Luthor.
wants to move out of Seattle because we want to make him pay a head tax
fuck him.
for his businesses to help with our homeless problem, which is the fourth worst in the nation.
Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Thank you, Randy Rhodes.
Oh, no, Durkin bent the knee to him. Remember? The
Yeah, I
city council
know.
passed it 6 months ago, and he freaked out. And they said, okay, don't leave. We won't make you pay.
Yeah, I know. Let's get let's get one of your stories. One of the locals in here today. CHOP representatives speak out about what changes they would like to see in Seattle. You'll have to tell me where to cut this. What is this about?
Just wherever it sounds good. I mean, I think that they're talking about how the fact that there is multiple organizations out there, and just because Jenny Durkin has made an agreement with one group doesn't mean that it affects any other group that's out there.
Oh, yeah. This is like placating groups arbitrarily. Okay.
This part of it, because this morning,
I can't hear it.
had bulldozers show up
Right.
here. Talk
And
about
again,
that.
that's crazy. That just shows you that no one's here negotiating at the table. Whoever the city's talking to, they're not talking to the right people, and that's the miscommunication. We want the city to know who they need to talk to, and that's why we're doing these interviews. That's why we're here every time they show up, so they can see the faces of the collective voices here of CHOP. And it's very important. If you guys want to sit down and have a talk, let's do that, because we've been here for 3 weeks and we need to get the ball moving. We really do. And all this confusion that's taking place, it needs to get dropped dead in the sky. Literally.
We saw the bulldozers and the trucks leave. What is going on?
Yeah, in reality,
Are they giving you guys? They're not going to make.
they're not moving any barriers
Correct.
until we're able to confer with everyone here.
Right.
We recognize that it's not just even the faces that you see on the camera so often. It's not just us that are representing all the people who are the bodies here now and will be here until the demands are met. It takes time to communicate with everybody. The city has agreed to allowing us 72 hours to negotiate where these barriers will be moved, but we have heard them in recognizing that some of the establishments are wanting more through traffic. We get it. We want to work with the city, but we also require that our demands are met. And these demands are not only reasonable, but also things that protect every Seattleite. Things like taking away or repealing qualified immunity. If an officer came into your home and assassinated one of your children, would you not want them to be prosecuted to the fullest?
Well, is that a good place to cut it?
Yeah, this was a really good interview. I got to give it to King 5. They've been on the ground a lot, and they actually are talking with the actual people in the CHOP. But, we're hearing multiple different conflicting stories coming out of CHOP this morning. They're saying they are moving some barricades, and they have opened up a few of the streets, and they have moved some of the barricades that are out there. But as far as everybody packing it up and going home, there has been a lot of people that have packed up and have left, but there also is a lot of people that are moving over back to in front of the East Precinct. So this story is not going to go away quietly. I have a feeling next week we're going to see some back and forth between the police and the protesters down there.
Okay, so this picture I have up, that last clip was in lieu of this one, right? This is the 3-hour thing.
Do we have multiple clips? Oh, yeah, no, you can dump this one. This was just a live walkthrough this morning that I was just giving you a live feed for.
Oh, okay. That was, it was a live walkthrough. So anyway, just quickly update. Where are we at on CHOP, Shanda? Is it going to...
CHOP is, the mayor they've defunded $20 million from the Seattle police. Now there's a lot of back and forth of where that $20 million's going. A lot of BLM organizers are in talks with the mayor's office. They're talking about, community projects and things that they can do with that money. But there also is a lot of other organizers, like these guys were saying, on the streets that are not involved in these talks, that are not just going to go away because Jenny Durkin gave a few groups some money and a few buildings. So we'll see what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how this shakes out, because usually there's somebody getting paid off with anything, and I'm not saying that the city working with groups to make life better for everybody is a bad idea at all. I just think that's what we need to do. Everything's negotiable. What's going on in the chat? Is everybody falling asleep yet, or no?
They're talking about Kelly Lane being Lois Lane.
Being Lois Lane? Are you Lois Lane?
They're like, hey, aren't you the reporter that broke the Superman story?
Yeah. I think that we can give that to Kelly. You get the Wipey Award. You're Lois Lane there, Kelly Lane. So anyway, let me get you framed back in. I think I messed up your frame. Anyway, what do we got going on today? I think we're trying to get together Progressive Washington for this afternoon at 2:00. I'm sure Marcus has got the show up for No Joke for tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. We've got Oz is going to try and work on his greenhouse in between all this stuff, plus a lot of housekeeping things. We're going to try and do some more shows, get shows going and formatted and things like that. Sunday morning, I don't know what Larry's got going on, but I know with the fuckery of the DNC and this phony convention they've got coming up in August, Larry's working on that. So we will be focusing on that. And then the Accidental Activist Sunday Brunch, is that what you're going to be focusing on?
Yeah, we're going to do we're going to cover the convention. But like I said yesterday, unless somebody publishes some information about it, the Dems are really keeping it under wrap what their plan is.
Their plan is as far as what? Screwing everybody again?
Right. Well, they don't want us to have the information they don't want us to have their itinerary, the agenda for this convention, because they know how savvy the Bernie supporters are and how many, look at 2016. We came back at them every time. When they shut the lights out on us, we went and bought glow-in-the-dark shirts. When, they wouldn't let us talk, we were out in the media tents with tape over their mouths. So they know that they got to keep it quiet to keep our organization to a minimum. But we're organizing. We're going to figure it out. We're still going to come at them.
Well, yeah. So that's the Accidental Activist on Sunday Brunch. We'll get that in there. And, we're going to come. I think in a social media war that we've got the edge as far as that goes. Mm-hmm. I really do. I think people are dead tired of this shit, and they're going to just keep everything just closed and as tight and broke out as possible. I don't know how they can stop somebody from capturing it and transferring it to another. Maybe I'm giving them ideas. I don't know, but
don't give them no ideas.
Yeah, so we will try and do whatever we can to call out the fuckery once again. Thank you, everybody. Jilly, Barbara, Kelly Lane. Kelly Lane's got a show coming up, A Different View. We are still in pre-production. I'm still working on it. Brahm, Jesus, Human Love Solidarity, everybody. We've got, Freak Out Friday tonight, the Natural Progressive. Kelly, I hope you make it in there with everybody. Curious, thanks again for the super chat. We really appreciate it. Snork, a Y2K, and I think we got did I get her? If I ever miss anybody, Osama number 5, there's our buddy, our musician. I try and get everybody in here on the Outgo credits. Yes, we are working on some housekeeping things. We want to get all of our gleaners and our supporters and our underwriters some recognition in the Outgo credits. I'm working on that. It's my job for next week. Right now, we're going to go out with Colt Clark and the Quarantine Kids. they're going to play a little song by a group originally. Who did this originally? The Beatles. The Beatles, right? Come together. And then Aerosmith, Steven Tyler did a great version. I call it the Disturbed version of Come Together. But these kids really do a good job. Did you like what the preview I gave you, Shanda?
This is very cute. Yes.
This is very cute.
Perfect
We're going to
setting.
go out on a nice, cute one. This is just done in May. So it's the quarantine kids, and they're going to do Come Together. I think this little gal in front, she's going to be a star, or she already is, and she doesn't know it. Check it out. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day, and we'll see you hopefully tonight and tomorrow and Sunday and everywhere else. Thank you. Bye.
Hey everybody, we're on Clark Finley and we're going to sing Come Together by the Beatles.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoot. 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 Here come on, flat top, come grooving up slowly. Got juju, eyeball, he one holy roller. He got hair down to his knees. Got to be a joker, he just do what he please. Shoot. 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 He wear no shoe shine, he got toe jam football, he got monkey finger, he shoot Coca-Cola, he said, I know you know me. One thing I can tell you is you got to be free. Come together, now, over me. Shh.